This is your daily dose of all things royal. Welcome back, my gorgeous, good-looking friends. The people have spoken. There is a new prime minister. Keir Starmer won the UK elections yesterday, and wondering how everyone feels about that. I don't know very much about UK politics. However, I am aware that the Labour Party is very similar to our Democrat Party here in alignment with certain policies like immigration and climate change, as well as support of the WEF. On the surface, this congratulations by Justin Trudeau seems harmless, but it's the second sentence that raises a few eyebrows, where he says, lots of work ahead to build a more progressive, fair future for people on both sides of the Atlantic. Let's get to it, my friend. It really does send chills up my spine when I hear these globalist dictators talk about more progressive policies and it being more fair. It's quite the opposite. I think the scary part about it is the language that has been used to make it sound like this is a good thing when all around you things are falling apart left and right. In Canada, there is increased inflation, cost of living is unbearable, as well as the whole climate change carbon tax is literally decimating the middle class. Now you have Keir Starmer coming in, who equally believes all of these same policies, possibly even wanting to be a part of the EU. I think UK might be in a little bit of trouble. As an outsider looking in, it didn't appear to me that the UK had very much choice. Both of these two candidates, Rishi Sunak and Keir Starmer, are wet puppets. So they were damned if they do and they were damned if they don't. The real question is, was Keir Starmer the lesser of the two evils? My gut instinct tells me no. I think he's going to be far worse. And this assessment that I have is based off of what is being said here by our own government-controlled media, aka mainstream media. A lot of liberal progressives online support this win, like Christopher Boozy. And this is the concerning thing. Why is Christopher Boozy so jubilant over this win and care about the UK election? He writes here, the Labour Party has obliterated the Tories. Conservatives in Britain are going through some things. I predict the same will happen to the GOP here in the US this coming November. Brexit was the canary in the coal mine in 2016, and I believe Republicans should be terrified. This is a man who has done some pretty shady things with some very powerful people on the Democrat side. So what does he know that the rest of us don't know? Keep in mind, this is the same political party that Chris Bryant belongs to. Remember this guy? He was the one that supported the Bot Sentinel Fugazi report that was created or paid for by Meghan and Harry on the so-called single-purpose hate accounts, which so many would say that the entire report was misinformation. Well, I disagree with that. This entire report was disinformation. Disinformation means the intent to hurt, knowing that what they were putting out was false. And I believe that this was a malicious attempt to silence so many people. And that's exactly what is going on here, because the CCDH, also aligned with the Labour Party, is heavily aligned here in the United States with the Biden administration on censorship initiatives. So to me, it is very concerning to see this win. As much as I would like to see change for the better, I hate to be the pessimist here in saying that it's going to get worse. And that's because I see the Labour Party following in the same footsteps as the US with its progressive policies that have been pushed down by these globalists. It's an evil plan that's ongoing right now, all for stealing our money. It has me very nervous because these globalists will stop at nothing, and it's these very same people who had interference with our 2020 election. It makes you wonder, why did Rishi Sunak call a snap election? I know things weren't going his way, but don't you think he would have wanted a couple more months to try and turn it around? Or does he know that something is coming in the near future that he doesn't want to have any responsibility for? Either way, whoever wins this US election, it's going to have a massive impact on the rest of the world. Americans are in a very difficult position right now because on one hand, if we continue on the path with 4 more years of this current administration, we might as well say goodbye to the middle class. We are finding it increasingly difficult to make ends meet as a result of this inflation and the current debt that we are going in with just giving away American taxpayer money to people who don't even put into the system, while the rest of us here in our homeland are suffering. And then on the flip side, if we get the change that we want to go back to where we were pre-COVID, then we all need to prepare for what the globalists will unleash onto us to cause another global catastrophe. That's the reality. This is just me sharing my opinion, but giving some food for thought. We can only control so much and put our faith now back into God, because what will be, will be. All we can do is continue to educate ourselves to make the best choices. Anyhow, I want to pivot slightly and talk about a blogger who Yankee Wally had introduced to her audience. His name is Christopher Jones. He has been a part of this saga from the very beginning. Early on, before we knew any of the corruption about these two, he had been posting on Quora as well as YouTube when all of this trouble had begun 5 years ago. Christopher Jones was one of Meghan's targets in the beginning to get shut down, and successfully they did shut down his YouTube channel and to a certain extent got some of his posts removed on Quora. But that didn't stop him, as he kept on posting periodically over the last several years about this saga. So who is Christopher Jones? Well, I'm not exactly sure, but in his blogs, they are rather interesting with some of the details and insight that he provides. And his last 2 posts really gives us something to think about. But before I go into that, I want to talk about his connection to this couple. You see, allegedly, he knows the real story on how Harry and Meghan met. And this is what he had written 3 years ago. So he starts off telling us a little bit of background around the Soho House and how he was a member as well as a contractor doing work for them. He then continues on to talk about Harry and Meghan, in which he writes, "This is the club that Meghan and Harry frequented in London, but they spent the most time in the farmhouse. It's not really a secret Meghan met Harry in Toronto at Soho House. She was a member and I saw her there several times. Marcus even introduced her and a few friends to our group. My guests are prominent in the industry and were checking out the Toronto production facilities. I just happened to be in Toronto for work. Harry was in Toronto for the Invictus Games preparation and was taken to Soho House as a private place to eat and party. Marcus did the introductions, and of course, the spin started early with the whole blind date narrative, etc. Trying to present the romantic storyline rather than the truth, she and her group approached them in a bar. Marcus told us the story, and the staff who were there also said the same. So, since it's the only thing that works from a diary perspective, it must be true. I know it's boring, right? Not worthy of a royal romance? This has never been denied, and it is what Marcus does, and he now often lives with the couple. The whole timeline about Meghan being in the UK yacht set never fitted with her shooting schedule on Suits, and the chance of Harry being in Toronto for only a short time, dropping everything and going on a blind date, yeah, right, that didn't happen. Harry going on a random, unvetted blind date's just an 80s movie cliche. Can't make Meghan sound like a barfly who approaches a prince in a bar. The whole Meghan and yacht set, etc. never made sense, as it just didn't fit in the diaries and fit in with her Suits shooting schedule. So he continues on to say that he met Meghan a few times at Soho House, but also have met Harry too at garden parties and a 9/11 service in London, and also at the farmhouse in Toronto with Meghan. He goes on to write that Meghan was never interested in him, but always wanted to meet his guests. He then says Toronto Soho House was quite different than London's houses, with Marcus making introductions. My friends liked it as it is more relaxed without the extra expense of bottles and VIP tables. And Marcus brings over women or men, which is convenient. He knows everyone and is bisexual. He continues on and says he joked about roast chicken, which is a bi/gay sexual position. It was the first time I had heard it, and responded with the last chicken St. Sainsbury gag, which he found delicious as he was a massive gossip and reviled in that role. When I saw the engagement interview, I literally spat out my drink when Meghan says roasting chicken and gives the sly smile, and Harry looks uncomfortable and taking deep breaths.
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cozy night. What were we doing? Just roasting chicken and
roasting
having
chicken. Trying to roast chicken.
Trying to roast a chicken, and it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet and natural and very romantic.
I laughed in the moment and have never been able to shake why it was roasting chicken, especially for the woke Meghan. Why not making dinner? Like normal people, really, you are proposed to by a prince and what sticks in your mind is roast chicken? Now the gossip, and I repeat, it is nothing more than bar gossip, was that Harry is bi and liked being roasted. So hence why I struggle to hear anything innocent in that interview. So that is the delicious gossip about the couple. Meghan used Marcus to approach producers and directors. Marcus claimed he introduced the couple when Harry was over for Invictus Games preparations. Many people said Harry is bi and liked a position called roast chicken, all before the engagement. And then, strangely, roast chicken is mentioned in the engagement video. So it's no wonder that the three-way rumors with Harry, Meghan, Marcus exist, and don't be surprised if Marcus started it. I would like to add everything that I'm reading here by Christopher Jones is allegedly. I don't have any evidence that this is indeed truth, but I am more inclined to believe this guy over anything that Meghan and Harry have told us because all the stories that they have told have been filled with inconsistencies. The one thing that's consistent with Christopher Jones all throughout the last 5 years is this very same story. We also have to add into the fact that this guy was being targeted by the Sussex Squad and Meghan to get shut down. So I would say there's a high probability that this story is true. Even though I say take this information with a grain of salt, over the last several years he had been making predictions and for the most part they have been coming true. So this is why the last two posts have me a bit intrigued and I want to explore it together with you. So before we had the first presidential debate, back in May, Christopher Jones writes, "So the most interesting presidential election in history is underway. Zombies versus orangutans is the current billing. Although the real conspiracy is this is not likely to be the case after the conventions. Biden is losing in all the polls and losing all the standard Democratic base, which is important on many reasons." So he goes on to talk about Biden losing the vote volunteers and the problem that they have with Kamala. She's so unpopular and nobody likes her that she wouldn't be the best candidate if Joe Biden steps down and her be the replacement, which then goes into exploring the options that the Democrats might be considering, one being with Gavin Newsom on the ticket. And as a VP running mate, no, not Oprah, that would be the bane of Trump, Letitia James. He goes on to then make this point that if they swap Biden for Newsom, then Kamala can't be on the ticket because they would be both from the same state. And I believe that's against the election rules. He then writes, Letitia James, she who destroyed Cuomo and has shown herself to be immoral and brutal, ideal for the most corrupt nation on earth. I can't argue with him on that one. Now, in the event, God forbid, that this happens, Meghan would also be disqualified as a potential VP mate because she is too from the state of California. So on the bright side, she wouldn't be running, but that doesn't mean she's not going to snake her way into our government some way, somehow. Remember, she has this connection with Gavin Newsom, and there's a reason for why Gavin Newsom supported and backed Archewell Fugazi Public Charity. Anyhow, he continues to go into saying, so that leads to the more interesting and all-female ticket being tested and mooted. It is an oldie but a goodie. Yes, it is back on the agenda. It was 4 years ago, and all the testing. So you just had Meghan doing solo walkabouts in Nigeria. All the press runs. So what could stop them? An all-woman ticket? Color everything the woke want. Surely, this is the helicopter option at the convention. Then, the evil British and divorce. It always tested so well. Actually, it wins. Yet, California going after filings and taxes. Go, Gavin, go. Then, Letitia James. There are a lot of charges to be put on Meghan. Watch the self-proclaimed Dark Destroyer take the VP slot, either Gavin or Hillary. Interesting, so many conspiracies. As with all US elections, virtually no truth, just our truths. Now, at first, when I read this post, I didn't fully understand who this Dark Destroyer was because he's talked about this Dark Destroyer in previous posts, and I thought maybe he was talking about Michelle Obama. But after this post and the most recent one, it's very clear that the Dark Destroyer is Letitia James. I will get to her in a second, but coming to this point about the idea of a Hillary Clinton and Meghan Markle ticket, I think is ludicrous. Hillary Clinton is universally hated across the board, just like Meghan Markle here in the United States. So I don't think they're going to risk that. Meghan has zero chance in running for any type of office because of the skeletons in her closet and the criminal activities going on. After what we have witnessed, I am convinced Meghan will never run for a public office because she's too thin-skinned, and she knows that she will get slaughtered in any debate because she's an ignorant arse. In addition, her skeletons will start coming out, and I don't think people will like what they see, particularly surrounding that bullying report. One way or another, that report will come out. Meghan's only way now into the White House really will be about getting appointed to some position, which is why, if Gavin Newsom does run, we should all be scared at the possibility of him appointing her to some important role within our government. Now, this is just my opinion. In the event, God forbid, Gavin Newsom ends up on that 2024 election ticket, we really have to think long and hard who Gavin will bring into the administration for his cabinet. Now, with his public backing of Archewell Fugazi Public Charity, and knowing that Meghan has connection to Gavin Newsom, I can honestly see Meghan riding on giving Gavin money for his campaign in exchange for a position in the cabinet. One of those positions, I believe, is UN ambassador. The Senate would actually have to vote on it, but considering the Democrats are the majority, then, she has a very good chance of succeeding, which would mean she would get the immunity that she's so desperately looking for to be protected from all her criminal behavior. But these are all just my opinions. I'm just thinking out loud. So now let's move on to Christopher Jones' most recent post, and I'm going to start a couple lines down. He writes, I specifically have pointed out that the couple are guilty of multiple financial crimes, that Meghan's political aspirations hadn't gone away, and I even posted months ago in the Truth and Conspiracy space about the Newsom, James, and Clinton Markle tickets. These were being tested because the replacements occurs with party delegates. Biden has all the delegates, so at the party conference, the delegates get to choose. It isn't actually the party hierarchy. The young progressive delegates were being tested to go with the all-women ticket, and Markle was thought to tick those boxes. It was also thought that the divorce and stealing my babies was a massive vote winner. It tested well. Remember, he highlights Valerie Biden, Joe Biden's sister's, endorsement of Meghan Markle. Now comes the meat of this post, which gives me a lot to think about, where he writes, now, politics is an extremely dirty game, and possibly the most brutal operator is, and he's referencing the Attorney General for New York, this cow, Letitia James. She is a Marxist BLM super sugar is what I call her. She who destroyed Cuomo, prosecuting Trump, but most importantly, she led the Russian money laundering investigation. The whole Russian collusion conspiracy with Trump. Now, I fully believe she would have found something, as Trump has done so much business with Russians, and it is real estate, it seems, a slam dunk. Now, those that are not familiar can click on my profile and go back through answers and posts from 4+ years ago. I outlined how the couple met and why I wrote in this space. It's time for the full story. I was in Toronto Soho House and bumped into some old friends who are industry heavy hitters, and we joined their group. Meghan and Lainey, and I'm assuming that's Lainey Lou from Lainey Gossip, were introduced by Marcus to our group. It was the Friends Facebook where I got a lot of the photos. The next night, my friends saw Marcus introduce Meghan and her friends to Henry, meaning Harry, and his group who were there for pre-Invictus meetings. I was in the next night and saw Meghan in a blue dress and Henry on what I believe was their first date. Read the originals, which has pictures, etc., and this leads into the roast chicken references in their fake proposal story. This has all come out when I was doxxed as one of the 8 that Henry followed by Scobie. Go back and you will see the answers that were alleged to have caused Henry's smashing of his home office and hotel room. Now, why I'm bringing this back up is my friends were there to look at potential investors. They rejected the Russian investments as, in their words, quote unquote, it is money laundering. These same people were friendly with the couple. Not a crime. Everyone likes a free lunch, and we all know that Henry doesn't pay. What is a series of weird coincidences for legal reasons. The house they stayed in Canada was from one of these Russians. The house they bought in California for a third of asking from another one of these Russians. The apartment they stay in New York from another one of this noted group. Come to the stage show, and we go into a lot of depth. Now, I know for a fact that LJ, meaning Letitia James, has all of this and even more. I even know for a fact that the real reason that Heritage Foundation, HF, were after Henry's visa application wasn't drug-related and was about this. This is the type of sleaze that wins elections. We got the answer on the type of visa with the judgment. The pulling of the protection detail also means the visa is technically able to be appealed as it no longer applies. So why does Henry sue for police protection while in the UK? We can't talk about that. It is interesting that he now uses shillings, which Charles also does and pays for. Weird coincidence. Henry has never been refused police protection in the UK and actually doesn't ask for it. He submits travel plans and Rayback reviews it. So why sue? If he has always gotten protection and proper threat assessments are undertaken. Ask Shillings, especially why so many news outlets put this at the bottom of his articles. Harry's case against the government is one of a series of legal challenges the prince has brought to the court. Also ask why he has lost so many emails and WhatsApp messages. Just because Boris Johnson pulled that stunt doesn't make it right. Then what kind of psycho claims to have lost 35,000 emails with the palace? Yep, they have 35,000 between them and Henry. Just look at the interesting Sun court case. I feel sorry for Sherborne on this one, but that is for a different post. This opens the door to the NDAs all being voided. Not a smart strategy. So back to the money laundering. It is my opinion, which I detailed in depth at the time of the company's filings, that the couple were committing tax avoidance and money laundering under California law, hence predicting that. On the wider concerning Letitia James' international money laundering, they are just so brazen it is a wonder the arrests haven't been made. Yes, the whole Nigerian trip does the international credentials, but as always follow the money. At least this time the idiots followed the legal advice and stated it was organized by you-know-who. Never answering who paid for it. How on earth has foot and mouth not happened? However, Letitia James, you also have that. The paper gave it to you. Should be worried about who also has it. So exactly why are you waiting on the arrests? Even your papers are pushing a Hillary ticket. You better hurry, as a Hillary Kamala ticket will be rubber stamped. Oh, American politics and complete lack of justice. LJ, remember who was a prosecutor and now has the same data. Just a strange coincidence that a lot of negative Meghan stories are coming out now. Failure to prosecute a rich white man, not a good look with the delegates. Clock's ticking. Again, I don't know if this is true or not. This is all allegedly, but Based off of what we have witnessed, anything's possible at this point. In fact, back in 2021, Letitia James was running for governor and then suddenly dropped out to become attorney general. At the bottom of this article by The New Yorker, there is the suggestion that she is eyeing that VP spot. And this was back in 2021. So I don't think that it's a weird out there idea that it could happen. I think it very well could happen. And that's the thing that I'm afraid of. She falls into the same group as Christopher Bouzy and the Sugars. Check this out.
The President of the United States has complained that I'm engaging in some sort of political witch hunt, that I've got some personal vendetta against him, that I campaigned against him. That is not true.
This illegitimate president who sits in the White House. That president, because he's not my president, he's an illegitimate president. His days are numbered. His days are numbered. We've got to get ready to mobilize, and we've got to get ready to agitate and irritate until victory is won, but more importantly, until Trump is defeated. We will all rise up and resist this man, and ultimately we'll bring him down. This illegitimate president, I'm going to give you the same level of respect that you gave to President Obama, and that is absolutely no respect at all. Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Donald Trump has got to go. Hey, hey! Ho, ho! And the days of Donald Trump are numbered. Lock him up. Lock him up. What? Lock him up. What? Lock him up. What? Lock him up.
Things that are not completely clear to me is, are we to assume that Letitia James is part of this same international money laundering operation that Meghan and Harry are allegedly a part of with the Russians? And Kamala Harris has the data on Letitia James to expose her so that she ends up not running for VP? I don't know. This is what I'm making of what was written here. What do you guys think? Do you think there's any truth to this? I believe that there's something to this. He's very specific and detailed around certain aspects of what Prince Harry's going through, particularly surrounding the Heritage Foundation and this visa. Now, let me share with you my final thought. I personally believe that Harry and Meghan are in a lot of trouble. That's just my gut instinct, based off of what we have been watching unfold in front of our eyes between the group of people that they are funding to go out and terrorize people, involvement with interfering with our Constitution. In addition, we see Archwell and the funniness around the financials there. Hey, I would not be shocked at all to find out if, indeed, they are guilty of money laundering and are being investigated. I don't know if they are, but I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that Harry is about to go to jail. I mean, you know what I'm saying? So all these whispers going around about Harry having a mental breakdown, I think a lot of it is a result of what's happening from behind the scenes. Personally, I don't think Harry really gives a shit about being this A-list, rich, multi-mega deal Hollywood celebrity. I think he cares about his criminal activity coming out into the open. I truly believe that there is criminal activity going on, but that's just my opinion. I don't have any evidence of that. I just feel in my gut that both of these con artists are really stressed out, and it's why we're seeing this desperate attempt to get back on the good graces of the royal family. I believe Harry is looking for his father to bail him out. Again, I emphasize that this is all still opinion. There's no evidence that any of this is true, but there's also no evidence that this is false. All pure speculation. This last bit that you're seeing on your screen is from ex-user Evans Einstein, who has impeccable sources. So, take with a grain of salt, but I'm putting it up there because in the past, he has a great track record of telling us what really is happening. So definitely let me know your thoughts. I know there's a lot to think through here. It's very interesting to me to see how this is all unfolding, but definitely leave your thoughts below. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe and I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Such a fraud.